Hi, boys and girls. I'm super excited to introduce this project to you. This project is called Volumeville. And so, pretty much, you're going to be creating a city using your understanding of volume. Now, if you notice here, the title says, Welcome to my town. So, we're pretty much creating a town or city. And in a town and city, you usually have main buildings or main structures that every town usually has. For example, you usually have a fire station, a library, a restaurant, banks, a hospital. All those things are usually and typically in a city. So today, you're going to create your own city called Volumeville. And I'm going to go through the process of how you're going to create your city. I'm going to give you examples of some of the ones that I created, just so you have a few to look at and to build inspiration from. This is a fun project. You're going to love, love, love it because I enjoyed doing the project. I had to actually sit here and create the model for you. And while I was creating it, I was like, man, this is a really fun project. So I know if I had a good time doing it, I'm pretty sure you will too. All right, so I'm going to go through all the different ones that I created. So the one that you have in front of you is the hospital. Now, if you notice in the hospital, this particular one that I created is a composite shape. It's a complex shape, kind of what you did on Tuesday, and last week, Thursday, you practiced composite shape. This particular hospital, it has, and if you notice right here, it has the emergency room, and the emergency room is connected to a bridge, which goes to the maternity ward. So the maternity ward and the hospital have its own volume. And then together, the total volume is 4,728. So if you want to do composite shapes, you definitely can. I am going to recommend that you at least have one composite shape in your city. All right. Here I created a bank, and you'll see that the bank, it is a three-dimensional shape. Remember, because when we're talking about volume, we're talking about three-dimensional shape. It has to have a length, it has to have a width, it has to have a height. And here is my bank. And it tells you the length of the bank is 30 centimeters. The width is 17 centimeters. The height is 22 centimeters. And then the total volume of this bank is 11,220 cubic centimeters. So here's the fire station, and I was a little bit more creative. I put a fire truck. I put a garage. I put trees in. I'm going to show you how to do all of this stuff, how to add arrows, how to add the text box, all the different features I'm going to show you how to do today. All right, and then this is a government building. I kept it very simple for folks who might have a hard time doing all the things that I just modeled and showed you in the first three slides. This is a simple government building. Remember, you're going to also be graded on creativity. However, if you're struggling with creating the structures, this is a simple format that you could also use. And this is a police station. All right, so I'm going to go through how to do everything. So I'm going to start by showing you a blank template. So there are two ways you could do it. You could use this blank template that I've given you, or you can use a template that's going to be pre-made for you. So this is an example of a pre-made template that you can use that I am going to provide to you. You can choose to use the pre-made template, or you could just choose to use a blank template like the one I have in front of you. All right, so here we have this blank template. If you want to add a background to it, so for this particular one, I'm going to create a library. This is going to be my library. I'm going to find the volume of this library in Volumeville. So before I create my library, I want to create a background for the library. If I think about a library, I think about being around trees. I think about wanting to have a sitting area to be able to sit and read. So I was able to find, I did a Google search, and I was able to find a volume for the background. So in order to do a volume, you want to go to Google search and you want to save the background, save the volume, or save the image you found in Google search. So for example, I'm going to go to google.com just so that you can see. You go to google.com and then you can type in park clip art. All right, and so you'll see all these different clip arts. You go to images, you'll see various clip outs for parks. And all you have to do if you want to use that as a background is to just click the image and then you can save it. Hit save image. And then once you hit the save image, you type in the name of what you want to name the image. So for example, I'll name the image park. And you want to make sure it's going to be saved in your downloads. So you just hit save. And then it's saved as a clip art. All right. So now I'm going to go back and open up my slide template that I had before. So here's my Volumeville template that I had before. And I want to make that slide that I created, that picture I selected, I want to make it as my background. So all you do is you go to where it says background right here and you hit change background. After you hit change background, you select choose image. After you do that, make sure you select upload and then you hit browse. I already have a background that I wanted to use, so I'm going to use this background. That's the background that I want to use, and it's going to upload. All right, once it's uploaded, you hit done, and that is my background. Now I'm going to get started with adding my 3D shape. For my library, I want to make it 2 levels, so I'm going to make it a composite shape. So I'm going to go ahead and you're going to hit this circle and square shape, and then you're going to hit select shapes. And over here, you'll see the cube. Remember, we can't choose any other shape because we want to focus on choosing a 3-dimensional shape. So we're going to choose a cube shape. You don't want to put triangles on top of your shape because remember, volume is usually cubes, or we're usually working with rectangular prisms. So you don't want to put any triangles on any of your shapes. If you notice all of my shapes here that I've shown you before, they're all rectangular prisms. They're all right, and they don't have a triangle on top of them. So don't try to build it like a house. Make sure when you're creating your shape that you're using mainly cubes. So you're going to go ahead, go to shapes, and you're going to choose the cube, which is here. And I'm going to build my prism. And I want it to go all the way to the ground. So here I have my prism. I'm going to make it a little bit wide. Now remember, I want to make it a composite shape. So I'm going to add another level on top of it. So I'm going to add another cube. And this cube is going to be smaller, but it's going to stand on top of the shape. All right, not only and I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger. I'll make this also just a little bit bigger. All right, so now I have my prism. Make sure it stays inside. I'll make it a little smaller. And I don't want it floating in the air. All right, so sometimes when you go to a library, you'll notice that there's poles in front of the library. So I want to add some poles. Now, those poles, when I add them, they won't be calculated into my volume. So I'm going to go ahead and add some poles onto. By the way, if you want to change the color of your cubes, you can. The way you change the color of your cubes is you can select this paint thing that looks like it's pouring over, and you can select your color. Let's see. Let's try orange. Let's make the building orange. And let's see how the top, if I make the top also orange. Do I like that? That looks good. All right, so I'm going to make my library orange. I think I like that. Maybe as I move along, I'll change it. Yeah. All right, so now I'm going to add some poles at the front of the doors, like kind of like, because I want to make it seem real. All right, and I'm gonna, so that it's the same size, I'm gonna copy it and paste it. In order to copy, you just hit Control C at the same time, and to paste it, Control V. All right, so there I have my poles, and then I'm gonna use a banner. Go back to shapes, and then go to call outs, maybe? Yeah, call outs. And we'll add this banner right here. And we'll put it over it just like that. Well, I don't like that. Let's try another banner. Let's try this banner. Maybe we'll like that one better. Yeah, I think I like this one better. Yes. All right, we'll make it a different color. Maybe make it, and again, we'll go to the paint color. Maybe make it a lighter orange and see how that looks. I don't think I like that banner either. Let's try another banner. Sometimes you just got to play around with it until you find the banner you like. Let's try this one. Yeah, I think I might like this one better. And then if you want to make it smaller, you just clip the corners and then make it smaller. I think I want to change my library color also. That orange is too dark to me. Maybe make it tan. And we'll make that one a little bit more tan too. Yeah, I think I like that a little bit better. It's not too dark. I'll leave my poles the darker brown. Now on here, I'll write public library. Make this a little bit bigger. And then we'll write public library. You can go here and you can find the font that you like. That'll go with it. I'll try this one out. And then you can enlarge the text. Let's put public library. All right. I'm going to make the font just a little bit smaller so it could fit on one line. And I'm going to bold it. All right. So there I have my public library. All right. Now, once you have pretty much your dimension, your title, what this pretty much building is, now you're going to go ahead and put in the dimensions. One thing that you want to do is you want to mark arrows to show, since this is a composite shape, you want to mark arrows just to show you that this particular shape, that's where you're going to put the volume. So again, if you want to make your arrows a little bit more darker, you could go here and just hit 3, or just to If you want it even more, so you can hit 4. So you go to this right here to get the weight of the arrow. Now I'm going to go ahead and insert a text box here. And in my text box, I'm also going to add a border weight for the text box. I'm going to make it 3. And I'm also going to add color to my text box. I want the text box to be gray. And now I'm going to write down, remember, for this particular project, you can create dimensions that could be any amount. But your dimensions have to match what's there. For example, if you notice here, my length in this particular prism, it's the longest out of all the dimensions. If you look at it, the length is longer than the width and it's longer than the height. So I can't have a number for the length. I can't have it being smaller than the width. So you can't say the width is 10 and then the length is 8. That's not realistic, because if you look at the length, the line for length, it's longer than the width. So when you're creating your dimensions, you want to make sure your dimensions match what you see before you. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the length as, we'll make the length 10 centimeters. We can make the width, let's make the width 8 centimeters, and the height, we'll make it, let's see, we'll make it 6 centimeters because the height is not far from the width. Actually, we have to make it more than 6 centimeters. We'll make it about 9 centimeters. So the height is close to the width, the length, but it's a little bit less than the length. We'll actually make the length a little bit more. We'll make it 13 centimeters. All right, so I have my length, width, and height. And then I'm going to write what the volume is of this particular shape. So the volume for this shape, we'll calculate it. Now, all your calculations you're going to have to do on paper. You can't do your calculations on here, okay? So 13 times 8 times 9 gives us 936. So the volume of this shape is 936 cubic centimeters. So we'll write cubic centimeters. All right, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger so that it can fit. Actually, we'll make the font smaller so that it can fit. And then I want to change the font. So if you create something and you notice it's not fitting, just make the font smaller and it'll fit. All right, so here I have my dimensions for the bottom part of my library. Now, remember, this is a composite shape. So I want to create dimensions also for this top shape here. So I'm going to draw an arrow. You go here, create an arrow. And we'll put the dimensions here. We'll make the arrow a little bit darker because the line is a little faint. And then we'll add a text box here. Here we have it. And remember, in our text box, we're going to be coming up with the length, width, and height of the shape. We'll also darken the text box if we want to darken it so that it has an outline and it's not in the air. We can just darken it by going here. And then we'll select 4. And then we'll go ahead and start typing in our length, width, and height. All right, so here we have it. Make the font just a little bit bigger. All right, so if you notice in this particular one, the dimensions are kind of close to each other based on just looking at the shape and how close the measurements seem to be to each other. This could actually be a perfect cube, actually. I could actually make all the measurements the same here because it looks like a perfect cube. The only thing is the width and the height do seem a little bit, the width seems a little bit smaller than the length, but the length and the height, I can make it the same number. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll make the length, let's make the length maybe 9. Length. We'll make the length about 9 centimeters, or we'll make it 8 centimeters. The width will be a little bit smaller than the length. So we could say the width is about 5 centimeters. Let's put centimeters here. And the height, I'm going to make it the same only because the length and the width, the length and the height do kind of look the same. When I look at the length here and I look at the height here, the measurements do kind of look the same. All right, so now I'm going to calculate the volume. So it's 8 times 5 times 8, which gives me a total volume of 320 cubic centimeters. All right. If I want to add a little color to the background, which I have been doing this whole time, I can do that. I'll bring my arrow down some, or I'll move it right here. All right, so there I have my volume. And then if I want to put my total volume, because remember, I have to add the 320 and the 936. So I'm going to add another text box here so I can write the total volume. And I'll put it along the side here. I'll add some color to the text box. Change my font. You can make it whatever font you want, just as long as it's readable. I wouldn't make it a cursive font unless you're making the title of your building, the name of your building. That could be in cursive. But when you're writing down like the measurements and the dimensions and the total volume, definitely use normal print. So the total volume of this shape is, so we have the first shape was 936 plus 320. That gives us, the total volume is 1,256 cubic centimeters. All right. So as you can see here, this is a composite shape. This is my library. You can go ahead and you can make edits to it as you move along. If you want to make the building bigger, if you want to make it smaller, if you want to shift things around, you can definitely do that. If I decide that I want to change the color, I could change the color. So be creative. This is your ability to be creative. Once you've created all the different, so you should have in each of your slide pages, you should have a hospital, you should have a bank, you should have a fire station, a government building, a police station, a library, a restaurant. So on the last slide, you'll see all the different things that you're supposed to have, right? You'll see all the different buildings you're supposed to have. You're going to calculate the volume of all the buildings. And then once you're done with all the buildings, you're going to calculate the total volume. and this slide will be given to you, this is going to be the last page of your slide. This is going to be the last page of your slide. All right. So hopefully you guys are creative, and if you have questions that you want to ask me on Thursday when you begin this project, feel free to ask me any questions or any concerns that you might have on how to do certain things. This video, you can replay it and rewind it as many times as you need to. Hopefully, I've answered every question in this video. Again, have fun doing this project. Be super, super, super creative and innovative. This is a fun project. Have fun with it. This project isn't going to be due until next week, Friday. So you have a lot of time to work on this project. Do not rush. Check your calculations. Make sure all your calculations work. One last thing that I want to show you. If you notice here, one last thing before I wrap up, when I created this clock and I copied it, if you want to only copy the image and not its background, one thing that you can go to is it's called remove.bg.com. If you go here and you save, for example, an image, and you pull it up in your downloads, for example, I believe I did the cop car. I'll open it, and what it'll do, it will remove the background, so you could take the cop car without the background in it. You can copy it and download it, and then you can paste it into your slide without the background. So if at any point you want to have a particular image, but you don't want to have the background, that's what you can do. So when I had gotten the cop car, it had a background with it, and I removed the background from out of the cop car so that I could just have the cop car. All right. So if you want to do that, you could go to remove.bg and it'll remove the background for you. All right. So hopefully I've answered all your questions, and I'll do another video if I find that if I notice that there are some questions that I didn't answer. All right. Again, have fun with it. Bye.